1730 hours on April 4th, 2004, Sadr city of Baghdad, Iraq.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
1st Platoon, Charlie 25 CAV, was escorting a sewage truck in the southern part of the city.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
1755 hours as the sun began to set.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
3 large groups of men scattered to the north as the patrol approached.
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
Everyone in the patrol began to scan their sectors.
Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah.
The city of over 2 million people grew eerily quiet. And then,
Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah.
what started as sporadic gunfire quickly became overwhelming from all directions. Enemy forces across the city called to arms by the echoing calls of prayer, bouncing from one minaret to the next. This sparked a chain reaction that threw the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 1st CAV Division, headlong into the battle we now call Black Sunday. I am your host, Eddie Lazary, and on this series of episodes, I will be talking to the troops who were there and their families. We will be following and discussing The Long Road Home, a 7-part miniseries on the National Geographic Channel. If you or someone you know served during the Battle of Sadr City, I want to talk to you. Join us over to our closed Facebook group 04-04-04. Now let's meet our next guest.
It's getting to be a smaller and smaller army because I'm seeing so many of the same people, especially now that I'm at Benning. I'm running into like a lot of people, a lot of NCOs, a lot of leaders.
This is Salvador Zuniga, our 2nd Platoon Leader, Rider Platoon, of Charlie Troop, 10th Cavalry, 1st Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cavalry Division. We were the Brigade Reconnaissance Troop, serving as the Brigade QRF. This is our look back on the first few weeks of our deployment, OIF-2.
He'd been in Brigade S3 when we were deployed in OIF. I worked for General Esperance back here. He was the Brigade XO at the time, back in OIF-2. There were a lot of guys who were captains and lieutenants that were now field grades during the deployment in Afghanistan. Ran into Sergeant Major Salmon while I was downrange in Afghanistan. General Abrams brought him into the jock and went, "Hey, look who I found." I was like, "Wow." So yeah, it's been an interesting time. I would tell you that what we had in the BRT, it was difficult. A year later, and I took command in 2007, and I took command of a troop in combat, and it was very difficult to try to achieve what we had in the BRT. We were so fortunate to have such an A-list of people. Looking back on it, guys who like Scott and they went. Everybody starbursted out to other units afterwards. It was kind of sad. We were too good, so they had to do away with us.
Right.
You know, they can't be a 10th Cav ever again in 1st Cav. Sorry, you guys were just too damn good. And I joke around and say that, but the honest take on it was we set a very high standard.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I took command of A Troop 19, it was one, they just lost 3 soldiers. So, coming in after that and saying, "Hey, we got to be aggressive," that's how you keep the enemy off balance. That's how if you take the fight to the enemy, trust me, guys, you're gonna bring everybody home. I just want to make it to the end of the deployment. Hey, man, that's not how it works. And of course, the enemy gets a vote, but we didn't. We did very well. But when we got back and we reset and we were trying to get ready for the next deployment, I was trying to achieve the BRT standard, and I was very fortunate that I had a command group that just let me do what I wanted to do, and you just couldn't get to that. There's no amount of training, no amount of effort. You just couldn't get back to that cowboy troop level.
Now, do you think it was because, we did a lot of training leading up to it, and there was a lot of time spent in garrison, back at Fort Hood, out in the field, at NTC, not in the combat zone. I knew my guys for 3 and 4 years before we deployed, so we kind of had the luxury of that bonding period before we went into combat. And then it seemed like after we got back, like you said, everybody kind of starbursted out. Everybody went their own direction. And then it just went into this high op tempo where it was deployment after deployment after deployment. And you lost that cohesiveness with that team, because now you're with a guy for 12 months and then you redeploy and you go to another unit, or they leave, they go to another unit. And it just seems like for the last, better part of 10 years, it seems like it's just been kind of that way.
Yeah, and so just give you an example, I went to 4th Brigade, 1st Cav, and they went from stand-up to deployment in 10 months.
Wow.
10 months. And so you could have done that with a unit that had stayed together.
Yeah, right.
Just imagine if we'd come back in 05 and nobody PCS'd anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You did some inter-brigade moves, but for the most part, the family stayed within earshot. Because mid deployment, I went to the brigade headquarters, and you guys, a couple of guys, the XO, Chris Christian went to brigade, when we were down there in OIF, too. Had that stayed like that, if we had stayed very regimental, I think we would have been okay. Because I look at the Ranger Regiment, I look at SOF, those guys stay together. You stay behind the fence as long as you want, and they usually stay as a group the whole time.
Right.
And so I think that's where, of course, Big Army has to manage the whole force. And I think had we stayed as a unit, maybe things would have been, you would have had a degradation. I think you would have had it, because every time, like the boss, he brought all these 1st Cav guys to 3ID when we went to Afghanistan. And I was like, he's bringing the band back together. That was the running joke. We're 1st Cav East, because you looked everywhere and everybody had a combat patch from 1st Cav. So you're like, you were 1st Brigade. Holy shit, everybody here's, so it kind of, we were talking one night outside, and I said, what made us a great unit was we had time to develop a sense of brotherhood.
Right.
That when they started creating all these units of action and, hey, let's grow the Army, and we started sending people all over the place, you kind of lost that familiar, if that's a word, feel.
Yeah.
That unit loyalty, that unit brand, that cohesion. That, you're right. We were all together 3 years, 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think the youngest guy that showed up was Randolph, and he had just came from 2nd Cav, so it was like, okay, yeah, we love you. Come on, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was one of the things that worked against us.
Mm-hmm. So for those playing at home that may not be familiar with our story, you and I served together back with the 1st Brigade Combat Team, 1st Cav Division. We deployed to Sadr City in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom 2 on the eastern side of Baghdad there. At the time, you were a lieutenant and made your captain in country.
1 April. Thanks.
And it was a pleasure working with you over there, and I just got so much respect and admiration for all of the guys. It's just amazing to be this. You and I, this is the first time we actually talked since our deployment, but we've kind of, crossed paths many times on social media, and thank God for social media, because that's how I keep in touch with a lot of guys, is just through social media. Even my own, driver and gunner, we don't really talk on the phone very much. It's kind of sad, but it's one of those things where as long as we know we can reach out and touch each other, through social media, and we know that we're okay and everybody's doing okay, and then it's like everything's okay.
You're right on the mark, man. Facebook has made it so easy to stay in contact. Talking to my uncle and my dad, hey, do you talk to anybody that you served with? My dad's like, no. I'm like, damn. That, and I think in an era of persistent conflict where deployments came fast and heavy, and you kind of lost track of each other versus what like my grandfather and what my dad went through. They deploy, they come back, they're done. They may do 2 tours, but they're done, and they can reconnect, and there's no more conflict going on. For us, it was just one after the other, after the other, after the other, and yeah, there was no time to stay in touch with each other. Facebook makes it easier.
Right.
It's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good in the sense that we stay in touch with each other, but then there's not really a need to bring everybody together in one spot.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I talk to them all the time on Facebook. I'm like, yeah, but I would really like to have gotten everybody together for a reunion. That I give my dad, my dad's generation a lot of credit. They do unit reunions, and it's a real, to do. So I think we're missing out on that. I think American Legion and VFWs really suck because nobody wants to go hang out there like my dad's generation does. We're oh yeah, we stay together on Facebook. It's not the same.
So so how many deployments in total thus far do you have under your belt?
Well, counting like the long ones, not the you're gonna go over for 3 months, whatever. It's been a total of about 39 months.
Wow.
So did the surge. Everybody, I think everybody got a surge deployment out of it, and then went to Afghanistan in 12-13. So yeah, two Iraq, 2 Afghanistan. It's been interesting.
Now, a lot of guys that I talk with that we served together with during OIF2 that had multiple deployments since then, I've asked which one is the most memorable, and not all, but a vast majority of them always go back to our first deployment in OIF2. And I don't know if it's because it's your first, like popping your cherry the first time, or like if that's what it is, or if it's because we were together for so long before we deployed. Is that kind of, what's your take? What is that the most memorable one for you?
I asked Salmon that question, and I asked a couple other guys. And I think it goes back to, sir, the easiest deployment I ever had was ours. And then I follow up, why do you say that? And they're like, well, the camaraderie was there, the professionalism was there, the unit toughness was there. And I was like, yep, tracking. I think we all agreed that the best unit we were ever in was C Troop 10 CAV. And I know my guys, from Alpha 19, are going to be like, well, what about us? I'm like, guys, I compared every unit I've ever been to C Troop 10 CAV, because that deployment, we had a lot of stuff thrown at us.
Yeah.
A few of us have the SIGAC report, thank God it was on an unclassed system. So, hey, but when they put in the unit award packet, it's like, hey, wow, what's this? And you look at all the activities and all the combat that we saw, I think battalions did the amount of work we did.
Yeah.
And I look at the SIGAC log and go, my God, we were busy. I don't think a unit in 2006 to 2011 I don't think they would have been able to handle that load. I look at 2.5 CAV 0405. I don't think a unit any other time could deal with the amount of stuff that 2.5 went through, or the entire Iron Horse Brigade. Things got worse, to be sure, during the surge, but I don't think units could have handled the amount of, short of the actual invasion, I don't think units could have handled the load that we were going through. Mm-hmm. So I look at the Nat Geo series and I'm like, oh my God, it's half right and all wrong. My dad watches Hamburger Hill and he watches We Were Soldiers and he goes, oh my God, it's half right and all wrong. At least they got the uniforms right. And I'm like, so yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see the visuals. I got to walk Elijah during the filming.
Really?
Yeah, the
So
Master Sergeant.
let's back up for a minute because I haven't been there. So I'm understanding. The old mount site that was out there on Fort Hood, does that still exist, or is that what they redid?
So what they did was they took Elijah Mount site, the big Mount site,
Yeah.
and it went in there and they built the largest production set in North America. To give you a sense, Laz, they went in there and all the way down to the sewage.
Wow.
Dude, I mean, they had it was funny because they had like you know how they used to hang the sheep at the butcher's market?
Yeah.
They even had, sheep props hanging, and they sprayed glue, threw some raisins on it for the flies. I mean, they it was wild. And so what was interesting is when I left the troop and I went to go work for the boss up at brigade, I started rolling out with the boss more and more because I guess he took pity on me and went, yeah, Sal's wasting away in the two shop. And so that my street Arabic was about as good as my Mexican Spanish. So so I got to see a lot of Sadr City that I didn't get to see because we were on Route Pluto all the time. We went in Connecticut in August and September, spending a lot of time in the Sadr City DAC to see police station number 5 and to see some of the sewer lift station and to see some of the locations that they recreated at Elijah. Wow, man. We were up there for an airsoft game at the other two mount sites, and the guys were like, hey, anybody here serving First Cav? I'm like, yeah, me. And they're like, hey, you want to come take a look at the movie set? I'm like, yeah. So we went over there, and it was just as the sun was going down. My brother's got 2 tours in Iraq. My buddy Eric, 82nd Airborne, bunch of tours. So a bunch of us walked the mount site just as they wrapped up filming for the day. And dude, it was surreal. Like the sun was going down. I mean, we turned a corner and I went, hey, that's police station number 5. And the master sergeant goes, I go, it's a little small. I mean, granted, it's movie magic. It's half scale. And she was like, wow, you recognize that place? I was like, yeah, I spent a lot of time with my brigade commander doing, key leader engagements. So we turned a corner, and it's weird because you're thinking Sadr City is a big square. Well, Elijah's not that way. So it's movie magic. You went down Route Delta. And I'm like, well, Route Delta is actually wider than this, but I get it. Elijah Mountain Site's not that big. But they had it down, dude. Mookie posters everywhere. I mean, God, it was crazy. Trash everywhere.
Were they able to replicate the smell?
That was the one thing that was kind of missing. I was like, man, burn some tires or something. I was like, I see chips of tires everywhere, and they're like, oh, we just drained all of the fake sewage. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna say it looks pretty bad. But dude, they did a great job. I was like, you need to tell the Army to leave it this way. When you're done filming, just leave it like this.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They went back and, cleaned it all up. And so now Elijah looks like it was when we were there training.
I would have thought that leaving it that way would have made it so much more of a realistic training environment for the troops.
Yeah. I mean, I remember taking you guys out to the landfill going, okay, spot the IED. All right, training complete.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And I went, holy cow, you guys made this mount site look badass. Leave it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course, no, we can't range control. There's no dig permits. And if it doesn't have a foundation, it can't stay. I was like, okay, fine. Leave everything else that's attached to a real building. Just leave it like this. And of course, it didn't happen. But I know General Valesky went out there. I had missed General Abrams by a couple of days. They were like literally flying in while they had business to do on post. They'd go sneak off, go look at the production set, and then sneak out. So there was a bunch of us kind of getting in and looking around going, wow, and then getting the hell out of there. But, it's amazing. Just the look and feel of the location. My brother kept leaning over, hey, you all right? I'm like, dude, I know where I'm at. I'm at Fort Hood. Come on. And then all of a sudden, this little production car is like, the sun's already gone down, and here comes a little production car with the lights on, and it's pitch black out there, and it's like full moon. And my brother's like, oh, sorry for a minute there, I forgot where I was.
You're yelling, autograph.
Yeah, wrong side. Shit, man. So it was interesting, and of course we turned a corner as we're walking out. They did they recreated 2.5 Cavs talk and War Eagle. We're laughing because we're pushing the T-walls over, which are made out of like Fabergé, styrofoam.
Yeah.
My brother's bench pressing a jersey barrier. I'm like, stop it, And And so we turn a corner, and they have the talk from 2-5 down to the sign out front. And I was like, okay, wow, interesting. I told the master sergeant, I said, man, they had it down. It's like that one picture out in the album on the Facebook group, Black Knights, Lantern, I was like, wow, this is amazing. I was waiting for the mortars to come in.
Yeah.
So it was kind of surreal because we went as the sun was setting and we left as the sun was down already. And of course they were like, hey, don't post any pictures till after the series is released. You shouldn't be taking photos. Okay, we won't. Scouts honor. And so as soon as they put the series out, I'm looking forward to my friends posting all their pictures on Facebook because it was really awesome.
Now, did they use actual soldiers for the actors, or they just bring in actors?
I think they had a lot of the advisors on the set were guys from 1st Brigade, from 04, 05. And then they had, of course, to my knowledge, they might have had a few actual military advisors on the set. It was interesting to see how they had it all set up. So I'm interested to see, I hope there's not too much corny dialogue because, either that or are we just really that corny in real life? I don't know. I don't know, man.
I think, some in column A and some in column B, perhaps. So I don't know how much you know about the storyline or the script. Is it focused primarily around 2-5 in the battle? Does it bring out the scope of the battle into the entire brigade collective in terms of how we were all involved?
See, I don't know, man, because I kind of skimmed over Martha Radiss's book. People have various opinions about Martha Raditz. So I kind of was like, well, I'm writing a book, but I can't really get it released until, after I'm out of the Army because you don't want to burn anybody's freaking lives to the ground. But so she wrote a book, and she's really focused about the families, the soldiers, what the platoon went through in Charlie 2-5. It's interesting. She focused on 2-5 CAV. And, I think we've seen a lot of shows where it's a big battle in Iraq. I love Generation Kill. I'm sorry. I know it's about Marines, but they're reconnaissance dudes. They're crossing the berm. They're going north. I'm like, damn, that's the Band of Brothers of our time. The language, the emotion, to me, that was more of how we were. Mm-hmm. That to me, that's always going to be. My dad was like, what was it like? I'm like, watch Generation Kill. That was our troop. This one, I don't know, man. I skimmed the book over. She has her own opinions of the war. I'm hoping that doesn't bleed into the show.
Right.
So, but it's really 2-5 CAV centric, and rightly so. Black Sunday was definitely 1A2 and 2-5's trial by fire. And I know guys at 1st Armored Division really hated the 1st CAV because we came in, kind of hardcore. Remember, stay spiny, stay prickly.
Yep.
You guys went in there and picked a fight. We never had a problem until you guys went in there and picked a fight in Sadr City. Actually, no, man. I mean, hopefully this kind of sets the record straight. The CPA said no armed militias.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, at the time, at that particular time, we were in the middle of doing our right seat, left seat rides, right?
Yeah.
And we were only given force protection ammo. We only had one 30-round magazine a person and like maybe a can of 50 on our trucks.
We were lucky, I think, because leading up to that moment, Gangware, God love him, Sergeant First Class Ortega, brigade, one of the brigade guys, they hooked us up with a lot of ammo, far more ammo than I think we were supposed to have. And of course, once you distribute it out, yeah, you're. I think at one point we were up on ammo. The rest of the brigade may not have, but man, we were 14 mags a person. I think at a certain point they did that ammo crossover, and so there was ammo to be had. But you said RIP, and it just reminded me of one of the things I was thinking of this morning. Boy, did we get the full flavor. We were the first ones to get a shitty RIP TOA. Let it be said that our RIP TOA was kind of confusing. We worked with 237 Armor Scout Platoon, which I ran into their platoon leader again in Afghanistan. That was kind of funny. I was like, "Low, dude, wait a minute. You were the guy that fell in the canal and laughed at the Iraqis." No, I didn't fall in the canal. Like, yeah, dude, you fell in the canal. You smell like shit. Anyways, so running into him again and just kind of bringing back. Well, he had this big. Well, you guys went there and picked a fight, and I'm like, actually, man, we were there. We were victims of following what was told to us. No armed militias. Plus, no, I don't think the brigade commander didn't even know what was going on down in Najaf. The closing of the newspaper because the newspaper was spouting hate and kill Sunnis, rise up against the Americans. They were talking all this junk. Well, we have freedom of the press. That's not how it works, dude. You don't get to yell fire in a theater. Meanwhile, we're in the middle of our Rip Toa, and all this other stuff's going on down in Najaf. And we don't realize that's going to affect us in Sadr City. Then they arrest one of Sadr's lieutenants down in Najaf on the 3rd of April. And on the 4th, why is everybody hating on us all of a sudden? We didn't know. I mean, over the course of the deployment, we figured out whatever happened down in Najaf would happen in Sadr City.
Right.
Vice versa. But we didn't know, man. We were victims of one unit telling us roll slow and the other unit going haul ass through an IED zone. It was wild, man.
Yeah, I remember the my counterpart, squad leader that I was with, kind of picking his brain, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, and all we kept hearing leading up to our deployment was, IED Alley. That's what Route Pluto was called, or what we referred to it as before we went in there. And that's all we kept hearing about is all these IEDs everywhere. And so I talking with my guy, and I'm like, so, what's the story with all these IEDs? Like, how many have you hit? And he's like, we've really only in the entire time he was there, he said they only really encountered a couple. They heard a lot outside the wire, but they really, only had a couple. I'm like, really? So it really kind of took me by surprise. I almost felt like maybe perhaps they were kind of playing it up a little bit when we were in training, trying, making it seem worse than it was actually going to be. So then when we got in the country, it was not so bad and we were ready for it kind of thing. But then all hell broke loose and we're like, holy shit.
Well, you remember our NTC rotation. We spent most of our time sitting on the rocks.
Yeah.
Trying to catch the mad motorman.
Yes.
I kind of laughed at, well, that NTC rotation really didn't help us. But we did a lot of rehearsals before we went over. I mean, when they told us we were going to be escorting, vehicles coming out of the port, we did that terrain ride. And we did a lot of rehearsals to get ready for our mission set. And yeah, you're right. They harped on IEDs because countrywide, that was the thing. That was what was killing us. And they were like, well, any American soldier can't be beat on the battlefield in small arms, And to this day, I'm a big believer that God, if they had just tried not to blow us up and try to go gun to gun on us, we'd come out on top 9 times out of 10. And so I think the IED threat, we were very well versed for it. We were ready for it. You remember 2nd CAV lost a field grade to an IED.
Yeah.
So, they were very, very aware of it, but you also had 1st Armored there with tanks, How many times while 1st Armored was leaving the Martyrs Monument, hey, get behind him, he's clearing the route for us. Just follow the tank down south, I think we were very tuned for IEDs, which I think saved us in the long run as things got worse for us on Pluto. Be right there. Hey, the explosion happened. Where's the BRT? You're like, sir, they're within. It's Rider 2-1 again. God damn it. It's funny because off topic but somewhat related. When I was teaching ROTC, the new PMS comes in. He goes, "I know your nickname," and I went, "Sir." And we're stretching out for PT, and I'm like, "My nickname, sir?" He goes, "Yeah, Jason Kidder." I was like, "Yeah, he used to be my troop commander." He goes, "Yeah, he was telling me that your nickname in 1st Brigade was Magneto." I was like, God damn, here it is 2010, and I'm like, I haven't heard that nickname since 2004, sir. Thank you for all the bad memories. I'm going to go suck my thumb behind a tree now. It's just interesting. You're right. We were very tuned for IEDs, so April 4th was an anomaly. It was a shock and an anomaly because we weren't expecting them to throw the hate on us, small arm style.
Yeah. Talk to us about April 4th. Everyone that participated has a different story because, everyone's mission that night and the days following that were vastly different. But basically, the entire troop was out doing something
Yeah, we got blown out. So taking it back to a couple of days before, remember we had found that jumbo cache with about 200 meters from the gate.
Yep.
Second platoon walked out under the underpass within sight of the gate. And we found that huge cache. We had the Dallas Morning News with us.
Yep.
We felt like, hey, second CAV, you didn't spot this? What the hell? But I remember that day, what stood out to me was while we were pulling security and waiting for EOD, and they were taking their time, I remember a bongo truck coming over the Oilers overpass, and they yelled out in Arabic, you're going to die, Americans, you're going to die. And the only reason why I knew that phrase in Arabic is I'd been watching Al Jazeera before we deployed, and I was like, oh, that's a phrase I might want to know. And I went, God, I hope that's not what that phrase was. Why would they be pissed off at us? And that was April 2nd. April 3rd, things were kind of quiet for us. And then you're right, April 4th, things started in the morning and just progressively got worse. I remember I was getting our trip ticket signed off at the brigade talk, and they were listening into what was going on with the they call them honey buckets. I'm like, those are shit sucker trucks, anyways. So I was like, what's going on? And they said, hey, hurry up, get out of here. We signed your trip ticket, get out. And I'm like, yep, Roger. And we took off. And so we didn't take any small arms during the day. We had some near the communist house by the Yellow Footbridge, but it really wasn't, it didn't ramp up and get ugly until the evening when an outlaw took contact, and they went up Predators, and they were Musgrave and Newhan were running. They were running casualties back from 2-5 and 182 down to us halfway down Predators. We would do the exchange. We'd take over escorting them, and Hardy and the guys, we'd escort them down to Predators in Pluto, and then Hardy and the guys, the rest of the platoon would take them down to Rustamaya.
Rustamaya, also known as Camp Cuervo. It's the southernmost FOB in the 1st Brigade sector.
And I remember doing that run. The reason why we broke it into relays is that way we could keep the route open, because as well as I do, if we left the route, take the whole platoon, shit, now the route's black again. So Outlaw was doing part of Predators. We were doing part of Predators and the rest of South Pluto. And I remember, was it Chase, Collins, Hatton, Jennifer? I remember all of them rolling down with Top to Rustamaya. And the one time that I went down to Rustamaya, we swapped sections. I rode down with the casualties, one of the runs. We had the forward support battalion commander come up to me and yell at me because we didn't stop at the clearing barrels on the way into Rustamaya.
I was with you on that one.
Yeah, and I was like, "Are you out of your mind?"
Yeah.
And one of the moments when Top was still Top, I got this, go away. And I went, okay, yeah, great. You can talk to her. I'm out of here. I remember the first CAV, was it not Charlie Med? Might have been, I think they were Echo Med at the time before they reflagged. You had them, and you had some medics from 1st Armored Division, the docs crying and puking. And there we were, it was either Chase or Collins trying to get some help to download casualties off the back of an LMTV. And it was kind of like, are you guys gonna stand there and puke and cry? Or are you gonna help us download these casualties? Meanwhile, Christian, and I want to say, God, I can't remember, that night's a blur. Meanwhile, the guys were going over and getting ammo loaded on a flat rack, so we could run ammo back up Pluto to Predators. I can't remember how many times we did that run. Somebody says we did it 9 times.
Yeah, I think because that's what my section was doing too. And we were just constantly, we either going, like you said, we were passing the baton and kind of frog hopping each other along the way, because it kept getting hot in spots. And we, at one point, we're actually running. I remember running one trip of casualties down, and it was so hot on Pluto southbound, we actually went against traffic. It went south and northbound.
I remember you guys calling back saying, "Hey, we had to jump across." You remember that shitty turnaround?
Yeah.
It was kind of really one way. You guys kind of went up it and back down it to come down the wrong way of traffic. I just remember Nosad, one of the Kurdish Terps that we had with us. you got to give me a gun. You got to give me a gun. And Hardy gave him a shotgun. It's like, here you go, man. He's like, how the hell do I make this work? And that was right there at the little chicken shack on Pluto, Predators, right before you got to Pluto, the overpass. The strange shit that comes back to your mind. But yeah, that night was just very long.
Yeah, and I remember it being cold. In particular because we had no doors, if you'll remember.
Yeah, we didn't have any door. We were dumb as shit. No, we were following the example. Hardy had the idea, let's turn the seat sideways so we can jump out faster. I'm like, okay, fine. We laughed about the tar deck, the two-door kits, which destroyed those trucks. Yeah. It just, and Patton and his fascination with sandbags. Sir, we can sandbag the truck, and I'm like, hey, and before we had turrets, my God, you look at and that's when I'm looking at the photos, I'm like, the beginning of the deployment and by the end of the deployment, what our trucks look like. Yeah. No turrets whatsoever to these armored cars with these damn, armored turrets. And then the next tour we had freaking sniper, sniper screens and whatnot. But I mean, my God, man, we didn't know what we didn't know. And we were very aggressive. And I think that's what kind of saved the day for us up to a point. There was a moment when, it's time to go. We're getting less and less aggressive, and it's going to cost us. But yeah, man, April 4th through the 8th is just a blur.
Yeah, it was nonstop, man.
I'm looking back at the SIGAC log, and I'm like, wow, we really didn't keep much notes because there really isn't much here. And it wasn't because we weren't busy. It was because we were too damn busy. Mm-hmm. Because I know the log, the written log has got to be packed, but the Excel log is not well kept. And I don't know where the SIGAC, the written SIGAC log is. Nobody does. But I think it's probably with the Army's history, wherever it's like, oh, Sea Troop 10 CAV, we can burn these. They're gone now. Along with that unit award thing. Anyways, but yeah, man, I just remember when they went in and they leveled the Sadr Bureau building. We got the task to go up to War Eagle and pick up all of the intel they grabbed out of that building. And so we drive up to War Eagle, and we got there around 1500, and we're picking up. We go up to the Lancer talk, and it's dead quiet in there. Because they had we took 10 dead and 59 wounded that April 4th. Yeah. So I walked up in there and I look around and I saw then Lieutenant Colonel Valesky writing letters. So I was like, I'll just stand here and wait until I'm noticed. And finally he looks up, and I had never met him. Fucking lieutenant. I didn't pin on captain until 14 April. So I'm just standing there like, well, if he doesn't know who I am, it's expected. I'm a loathy little platoon leader. And he goes, hey, Sal, how you doing? And I went, my God, not only does he know who I am, he knows me by my first name. That's weird. Sir, I'm doing all right. He goes, hang on. He goes, just wait a second. Let me finish this, and I'll make sure that you guys get everything. Okay, sir. And then he looks over at his battle captain. And he goes, hey, what time is it? Sir, it's 1500. Oh, it's punchy time. And I was like, what the fuck is punchy time? And all of a sudden, everybody stops what they're doing. And remember that Pikachu video with the dogs humping the stuffed Pikachu? Yeah. To I'm an Outlaw? Yeah. Everybody stopped in their talk, and they played that video. And everybody had a good laugh, and then the video was over, and everybody went right back to what they were doing. And I was like, my God, this place is, oh shit. He's like, hey, everything's right over there, Sal. Go ahead and, grab it all and tell the boss that's everything. Okay, sure. And then one of the battle captains goes, hey, you might want to get out of here before 1600 because that's when the mortars start coming in. Okay, so I look at Hardy, and Hardy looks at Hibbert. Okay, hey, man, let's grab all this shit and let's get out of here. We grabbed everything, and I remember we were leaving the talk. Remember they had a 2-story talk. Yep. So we were down in the parking lot loading stuff up, and my friend Lucio Guajardo was a staff sergeant in either Banshee or Comanche 2-5 CAV, and I thought for sure the guy was dead because rumors abounded that C Company 2-5 had lost a lot of guys, and they did. I look over at Lucio, and he looks at me, and I'm like, "You're alive!" At the same time, we're like, "You're alive!" He's like, "Yep, I'm alive. Hey, great, dude. It's almost 1600. I gotta go." I'm like, "Yeah, man. They're really serious about this whole 1600 man motorman thing." So we loaded everything up, and just as we cleared the clearing barrels and were heading out the gate, they started taking incoming. And I think in one day they took 600 impacts. I mean,
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to, you look at any other unit, the amount of stuff that those guys went through, that we went through. I'm not sure any other unit could have dealt with that much. And I say, I'm very proud of who we were, Iron Horse Brigade, because the follow-on Iron Horse was not the same. It was a little bit, but not the same. Colonel Funk was lucky to get 60%, but it wasn't the same team. I mean, come on, there was no 10th Cavalry. We were Charlie 17. So I mean, it was just surreal, dude. And they kept changing the ROE.
Yeah.
I mean, we were going to go to Pizza Inn in the green zone. It was like, hey, if you see a guy wearing black with the Mookie freaking ID card, the backstage pass, just shoot him.
Right.
Gang was like, hey, I got dismounts. I was like the perfect, a gunner identified troops, 3:00, 50 meters, identified fire. All right, hey, sir, they're down, right? Hey, let's head to green zone for Pizza Inn. Like, we just smoked 2 guys in the intersection? Holy shit,
I remember I was going to, I had my section had the pleasure of doing the R&R runs, the buyout, right? To drop guys off and pick them up. So I hit that every couple of weeks. That was a fun trip. But we got the ROE before I left one day, and they're like, if you see anybody wearing black pajamas and a green headband, take them out. I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we're heading out, and just our section, and it's really kind of sketchy because you leave your brigade zone and you enter a new one. It's like you're relying on whoever your zone you're entering to be like responsive, and it's kind of so all of a sudden we see this hundreds of people protest. I don't know, I'd call it a protest, but they had signs and banners, and I don't know what it was. I have no idea, but hundreds of them. They're all wearing black pajamas with the green headband. And I remember I can't remember if it was Herbst, it was my gunner that trip, or it was somebody else. They're like, do we smoke them? I'm like, no.
No.
Stop. Let's not waste like 300 people right here. Let's kind of, I know that's what.
Yeah, 2 dudes directing traffic by the Mookie statue on Route Delta, right there, Delta and Pluto. That's one thing.
Yeah. Let's start an incident here. I don't know if we could kill them all before we get overrun and killed ourselves. So I was like, no. We're going to ignore that ROE, and we're going to bypass, keep moving. But it's craziness.
So what's funny is so Hammer, HHC Brigade had to have they put together this hodgepodge gun truck platoon to do supply runs and run people back and forth from BIOP. And I don't know, man, I just couldn't stand being on the FOB because every day's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So Hammer 9, Sergeant Major Ripley's like, then First Sergeant Ripley was like, hey, I know you're dying. You want to just TC a truck? I'm like, sure, I'll gun. I don't care. Just, get me out of here. So he's telling stories at the Brigade Hail and Farewell. And, Abrams is like, I'm pretty sure Sal had a house in Baghdad. He didn't live on the FOB. And Lucy's looking at me like, really? Like, I thought you were careful. And I'm like, I was really careful. And so I kind of outed Rip. I was like, hey, thanks, Top Ripley, for all the shopping trips that we did. And he's looking at me like, you're ripping me off. And then, so what's funny is we all PCS. I go to the captain's career course at Knox. I run into Sergeant Thomas. Waldron's out there. Nate, Nathan's out there. So we all have this big party, I think, at Thomas's house because he lived on the other side of Knox. Yeah, we're all over there, and everybody's drunk. And they're all telling war stories. And Waldron and freaking Thomas are telling Lucy about this one particular time in, oh man, you should have seen your husband. He was going from truck to truck telling us where to shoot, and tracers are whipping by him. And I'm like, shut up, shut up, shut up. And they're like, and he tried to tell us that, well, if I was a bad guy, why would I shoot at a guy that's not shooting at me? I would shoot at guys that are shooting at me, not shooting at a guy who's unarmed, just pointing to other. I'm like, well, that was my fucked up theory. How was I supposed to know it wasn't working?
Right.
And so it goes back to, I think we were so focused about not letting ourselves down and letting our people down. That's what probably made that deployment, when you compare all the other ones, we were so stressed, not about the danger. We were stressed about letting each other down.
Yeah.
And so I think bringing the conversation back to what you said, we were so focused on, getting our cherries popped, number one. Number two, because remember, Monty Luce, man, my platoon sergeant, as we were, when I first got second platoon, he got an ARCOM with V, Desert Storm, reloading tow missiles, on a freaking, on a Bradley. And I'm like, damn, dude, you saw that shit, and I'm like, those guys were so rare, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
With the exception of the guys in Somalia, the guys in Panama, you rarely saw anybody with a freaking combat patch, and so I look back at, okay, hey, this is our moment. We're not going to let our guys down. We're not going to let ourselves down. Weren't really worried about getting, I never had a fear of getting killed, but I had a fear of letting my soldiers down. And I think that was and that was everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody thought like that. Blankenship, we went to go see him and Omen, and freaking Nathan at the cache, I got Blankenship telling me, hey sir, I'm sorry. Him and Nathan are in tears saying, I'm sorry, sir, I let you down. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? You did your jobs. You put fire down on the enemy. I got hit and I got hit, sir, and I fell in the grass. I'm like, dude, the enemy gets a vote. I mean, you did your jobs. I'm proud of you guys, man. I mean, you didn't let anybody down. Mm-hmm. You didn't let your truck down. You didn't let gangware down. You didn't, you guys, shit, Nathan, man. You suppressed the enemy long enough for the rest of the platoon to converge on him. Holy shit. I mean, and then subsequent deployments, now I'm a troop commander. Definitely can't let anybody down here. We got to push people to stay aggressive. Because boy, man, the surge, that was rough, but it just wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't. You had guys that were, hey, I'm just going to do my job. Yeah, I'm like, no, you don't understand. You need to do more. You need to not let your people down. You're like, good grief. The burden of leadership is lost on some of you. Well, I just want to take care of my men. Well, that's not going to bring them home, dude.
Right.
If anything, you're going to get them killed.
Yeah.
Well, you're too aggressive. I don't know. Come on, man. You just can't go out there and hang out. You're going to get shot. I mean, so it goes back to, and a lot of us got burned out, running into some of the guys after a couple of deployments. I didn't blame them for not making the Army a career. Mm-hmm. This life's rough, man. You did your service. Go get your 40 acres of plow and you know what living is. Go live, and don't let anybody take that away from you. So going back and looking at the guys that got out, I don't blame them. I don't hold anything against them. Hell, I'm proud of them. I wish that more people had taken up that spirit that those guys had. Because man, it's a very different Army now. And so somebody's like, well, if you knew that you were going to be, out of 17 years of service, 15 of that would be in conflict, would you do it all over again? Yes, I would, but not for the reasons most people would think. I would do it again for the Brotherhood. And somehow, some way, we should have stayed together. Redeploying after 1 year was probably not the best way to do things.
Yeah.
Had we just, what, hey, you're going to deploy for the duration, the war would have been over a lot faster.
Right.
Our grandfathers, great grandfathers deployed to World War II. They left in 41. They came back in 45. You imagine if we rotated units back then.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's like instead of fighting a 10-year war, you're fighting a 1-year war 10 times, right?
Yes, yes. Um, and it's just rough because I'm not sure. I mean, deploy, get it done, get the media out of there. Number one. Now I sound like my dad. If they had just done a media blackout, you guys would have had it over and done with in a month. I'm like, yeah, boy, that the history books really, the Philippine insurrection, Dad. Let me tell you, 100 CAV soldiers subjugated an island of 2.5 million people. Thank God the media didn't exist back then, because boy, we messed things up. But I mean, yeah, had we gone for the duration, and you're telling a soldier, hey, you're going to be over there 18 months. Okay, there were things we could have done to rotate units and stayed aggressive, but you're going to go over there 18 months. The bad guys know that we're in there for a year, and they know we're going to do a rip TOA the first 30 to 45 days, and we're going to do a rip TOA the last 30 to 45 days, and we're probably going to be as tough as we're going to be right around month 6.
Yep.
Because we know we're going home in a year. So I think had we deployed for a duration, or maybe rotated individuals, like Korea,
right?
You could maintain the pressure in a counterinsurgency with constant, knowledge.
Yeah.
But everybody's like, no, it'd be like Vietnam all over again. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting, but kind of went on a sidebar. Whoa, squirrel.
It's what we do best. So wrapping up here, back to the Long Road Homes premiering next week. What do you think guys like us that served over there and the family members, aside from it just being, an interesting show or something that we were a part of, what would you like to come out of the production and airing of a show like this?
I want it to be. It's going to be hard because we're sticklers for detail, and I think that's where all we're going to get out of this. The looks right. They just watching the trailers. It looks like Iraq. It looks like where we were. Like I was saying, Generation Kill. The AO they were in at the end of the last couple of episodes was the cigarette factory, Route Eros, No Name, and Route Pluto. They literally drove down Route Pluto in the series, and I told my wife that's where we were. I'm hoping to see something like that in the Long Road Home to tell my wife, hey, the Sadr City DAC looked like this. Police Station number 5 looked like this. So the look, if I just put it on mute, I should be able to point out things to the family. If I take it off mute, I don't want to hear corny language. I don't want to hear the Hollywood. You've seen it. Every Hollywood movie now. Oh, there's a veteran with PTSD. He's about to explode. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's not the case. We're not broken. We're not broken, man. I love the guys from Range 15, and because they hit home. Not every veteran's broken. We're not broken. Hell, we're probably the toughest part of society right now. And so to watch this series, I'm hoping that they don't do the cliche Hollywood, portrayal of us, because I don't think it would be fair to 1st Brigade, number one, and I don't think it would be right to 2-5 Cav, because Lancer, man, you remember, shoot him in the face.
Hell yeah.
They were proud to be, everyone was proud to be in that unit, and that's what carried us through that day. And guys were like, you think they're going to put the BRT in? And I'm like, nah, man, we'll probably get like a 10-second, that's it. And there'd be Gangware showing his ass or something. I don't know. Or Malt, just anyways. But I don't know. What I want out of it, I don't think it's going to happen. Put it on mute, and that's where I'll get the most out of it if the dialogue is horrible. Mm-hmm. My wife's like, they show a crying wife, I'm just gonna stop watching it. I'm like, whoa. My wife's like, we weren't like that. We didn't fall to pieces. You didn't call me for 25 days, and I was okay with, because I knew you were gonna do your fucking job. I'm like, oh, okay, whoa, calm down, Latin wife. she got mad because I wrote one of those letters that we're not supposed to write, and
Yeah.
I was like, in the event of, open. And so what's the first thing the wife does? Open it. She's like, you're a dunce. She's like, thank you for being so Hollywood. I'm like, John Wayne was my hero. So I'm hoping that they do right by us, but my expectations are low, and because my standards are too high.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing I can hope for. The book is really good. I mean, what I've scanned out of it, I think the book is good. It captures what happened that day. I'm just hoping that it's not Hollywood cliche-ish.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited that it's bittersweet. I'm excited for it to come out, to watch it, to be able to show my kids that were very, very young when I deployed a little bit of history that I had the opportunity to be a part of. That's kind of the sweet part. And the bitter part is knowing that the only reason this was even the book was even written and the series was even created was because of the loss that we suffered as a brigade over there during that time, and continue to suffer throughout our deployment. And it's I'm looking for those that served during that time that may still be struggling with some demons, to be able to use this series as a forum of discussion and coming together and feeling okay about talking about some things. That's what I'm hoping for. I think with any combat veteran, especially a combat veteran watching a movie about something that they took part in, we're going to have a critical eye, I think. I don't think we can avoid that. But if we use this, and that's why I created the Facebook page 444, and trying to get everybody that participated on there, is to share bring some of that team back together, some of that camaraderie, sharing our pictures, sharing our story. That's why I'm doing these podcast episodes throughout the entire series. And as we progress, if you want, I'd love to have you back on and talk about a couple of the episodes after they've aired, so we could talk about kind of what we thought about them, and just kind of continue that dialogue throughout the course of the series. And I just think it'd be kind of a nice thing to get the team back together a little bit.
Absolutely, I think it's this is the healing process. When people say, hey Sal, I know what your views on PTSD are. I'm like, no, you don't. To me, there's you have to heal. The greatest generation did not come home scar-free.
Yeah.
We hold those guys in such a high light. Korean War vets, World War II vets. They came home with demons, and it's how they were so productive in dealing with them that I think is lost on the future generations. We're very, very resilient. But at the same time, we can also be very, very destructive initially. And so we as a veteran community, especially the OIF, OEF crowd, we need to focus on, okay, yep, I had a hard morning, or I had a moment. Okay, now I'm going to use that energy. I'm going to turn it and do something with it. And stuff like, the stuff you're doing, the stuff I do with Airsoft, I think is how we cope and how we help others pick up and go and make something, turn a positive out of a negative moment. But you're right, man. I'm hoping that the series does help. Every little bit helps. And it's weird. I'm watching history. Like, that's not history. I'm not gone, you know. You joke around like it's history when, like grandpa's in the room, he doesn't care to watch a World War II movie, and you're like, yeah, okay, he was there, man. Now it's like, we're kind of like, damn, dude, we're not over the hill, are we? No, man, we're not. Okay, good, because they're making movies about us on National Geographic. Shit. So, but yeah, I'm excited for the series, at least the look, and I want to be able to share it with the family. I know my dad's excited because he wants to see it. But yeah, man, let's get back together. Let's try to get the band together and see what everyone says.
Hell yeah. Very cool. So reach out to all Second Platoon, everybody you still have contact with. Let them know. Yep. Get them in the group. Let's get them on the show here. I'd love to hear from everybody if we can. That would be totally cool. Everyone could share their own experiences, kind of shoot the shit a little bit, touch base. And it'll not only, obviously this is the first time you and I have talked, and it'll probably be the first time I talk with a lot of these guys through this process. But I think what we'll do is open up those channels of communication, and I think you'll be able to connect with some of the other guys that you haven't talked to for a while, and vice versa. So that's really my ultimate goal in this whole thing, is just kind of bring the old crew back a little bit, and honor those that really kind of laid the foundation for what the military looks like today. Like you said, we didn't know what we didn't know, and the military today is a lot better for the sacrifices that were made, early on in the 03, 04, 05 time frame. Thanks for joining us for this first episode discussing the National Geographic miniseries, The Long Road Home. Over the next few weeks, throughout the course of the show, I will be bringing on guests who were there, as we share our own experiences and reflect on the miniseries. If you or someone you know served in Iraq during this time, I want to talk to you. You can connect with me on our closed Facebook group, 04-04-04. You can also find all of the show notes for these interviews over at changeyourpov.com/04-04-04. Never miss an episode. Hit subscribe on your podcast player of choice. Thanks for listening, and shoot 'em in the face.